Dear friends, welcome. This is a new episode. We are in episode number 13. I'm your host, Reda, and this is the Psyche and Human Body podcast. Today's guest goes by the name Mohamemd The Dietitian. He has a wonderful Instagram page. I think you guys should go check it and follow it. It goes by Mohamemd The Dietitian. I'm going to leave a link for it in the section below. Now, Mohammed today is going to be talking to us about many topics in nutrition, out of which the sugars, intermittent fasting, oils, what should we eat, what are the big challenges that his clients face, how does he usually solve them, like problems which people think of in nutrition, how to overcome them and such. Like food is a big part of our health. Like I cannot emphasize how important nutrition is to our overall health, how we think in our bodies. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Mohammed's a wonderful person. You guys should listen to it. And please leave all your comments in the section below. I'm going to do my best to answer all of them here on Instagram or any of the channels. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Good morning, Mohammed, and thank you very much for accepting the invite for the show today.
Good morning, Rida. Thank you for having me.
شو أخبارك?
Alhamdulillah, all is good. And thank you.
Mohammed, just for those who don't know you, please let's start slowly and introduce yourself. Who is Mohammed? And please let us know who are you.
Okay. Mohammed Husseini. I go by Mohammed The Dietitian on Instagram. I'm a licensed virtual dietitian, which I can consider myself lately as a mini influencer where I tackle very controversial topics and I do my best to spread awareness all over. And I currently reside in Lebanon and between Lebanon and Brazil.
I see. Man, why did you choose the dietitian and nutrition? Like, why this specialty in specific, not something else?
It was by mistake, I guess. I first went into university as a psychology major, and then I was like, am I really going to listen to people nag and complain about their problems? Like, I can't really spend my life listening to problems. And then I decided to go into a major that is fitness health related more because I started training at home at 14 years old when I was somehow an introvert. So I'm like, okay, so nutrition is a good way to go in. And then I realized that my major actually has more psychology than psychology has psychology because everyone has problems and most people do tend to react different towards food and their health based on their mental health and their mental state. So if I could go back like 5-7 years back, I would definitely be double majoring in psychology as well. For people who are watching and are interested in doing nutrition, definitely doing a double major or at least a minor in psychology would be an awesome idea.
In what sense? In what sense do psychology and our mental state play a role in the food that we eat?
It decides whether you can actually commit to a plan, stick to a plan, abide by rules and guidelines to get where you want to be. If you want to lose weight, you need to have a certain lifestyle that requires you to some extent to limit yourself from things that you actually like, but you know are not really good for you. This is where the mental state comes in. The discipline that you must have is related to your mental state. Suppose that you are having a bad day and you are not in the mood to do something, or you're just sad. Most people who are affected or mentally down would choose food for comfort. Not everyone, because we react different and we have different coping mechanisms. But if you want to look at it from far away a little, you see people spending or how can I put it in a sentence? You see people instead of fixing their problems or talking about their problems, a lot of people, not everyone, they go towards food and their habits are different when they are happy versus when they are sad. So how you feel can have a big impact on how much you can actually dedicate yourself to following a plan and reaching your goal. People who tend to lose weight, they believe it's very hard. Uh, for example, which it is, and gaining weight is actually very hard. But take someone
Mm-hmm.
who really wants this to happen and really wants this to work and is somehow mentally stable, because none of us are really mentally stable 100%. But suppose you take someone that is more mentally stable than someone else, they would find it easier to cope simply because their mental state allows them to do things that are of requirement to get the point they want to be in. So I believe that the mental state has a huge role on how much you can commit and actually your food decisions.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Let's start with the basics. Losing
Yeah.
and gaining weight. How do we do that?
If you want to talk, if you want to go through it, baby steps, let's
Mm-hmm.
go through the basics, because it's going to sound easy, but it's not. I say it's simple, and simple does not mean easy. So in a nutshell,
Mm-hmm.
if I want to gain weight, let's start with gaining weight, because people don't usually tackle this topic much on social
Sure.
media. It's mainly about weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. Uh, People think that all that the society wants is for people to lose weight and be thin, which is actually not true. Being fit, healthy, and strong is a major role, and sometimes it requires people to gain weight. And for you to gain weight, really, you have to understand and see where you stand physically. You need to see how much your genetics are actually helping you. Same goes for weight loss. You have to find out what your body requires to maintain their weight in terms of
Mm-hmm.
calories we're speaking. And by calories, we mean what we get from breaking down food that we digest. So once we get the calories from the food, depending on the calories and depending on our daily needs, if we are eating more than our requirements, we have to be gaining weight. If we are eating at maintenance, we should be having a stable weight. And if we are eating below our needs, we should be losing weight. Now, it sounds very easy. Okay, so I need 2,000 calories and I should be eating 1,800 to lose weight. It sounds very simple, but we have to understand that a lot of things come at play, like genetics, hormones. Again, I repeat, your psychological state, like how much can you really commit to a plan and how consistent can you really be at any of these phases,
Mm-hmm.
would play a big role on how successful the journey is. I'm not going to say the plan, because sometimes the plan is great. Most of the time, the plan is actually perfect to the person, but there is a mental barrier that does not allow them to fully cooperate, and this is where they fail. And weight loss is exactly the opposite. You would want to be eating below your needs so that your body is forced to break down from whatever it has stored, such as fat or whatever, depending on your food, to give you energy because you did not give it enough. So this is how you lose weight. You become, or you stay in a calorie deficit from the foods that you have daily.
I see. Is it always as simple as calories in and calories out? Because like some people, they still eat less and they don't lose weight. So what's up there?
Okay, so sometimes and most of the time, people that don't eat much probably don't move much, and people who don't move much and eat little, at some point in time, they have lost a certain amount of weight, but your body
Mm-hmm.
eventually adapts to survive. The body only understands and only knows one thing: I need to survive no matter what it takes. So people would call it block, people would call it plateau, which is to some extent true and makes sense. But I would rather call it adaptation. If I have been eating for a while little calories, my body will eventually adapt because it's understanding and this is the only amount that I'm going to have, and it wants to survive. Like you cannot keep losing weight, losing weight, losing weight, losing weight. Something happens that blocks this weight loss from going on, and then even when you are eating little, you maintain. People say, but I'm not eating. Why am I not
Mm-hmm.
losing weight? Maybe this amount of calories that the person is having is enough for helping them maintain their weight. And some days they would be eating more than this usual, so they become in a surplus, and this is how they eventually lose weight. Gain weight. You cannot not lose weight if you're not eating. At some point, you will have to lose the weight, and you cannot gain weight from nothing. Like you would hear a lot of people if you sit in a group of people, you will always hear someone telling you, I'm gaining weight, but I'm not eating.
True.
Explain to me, are you breathing air and gaining weight? Like something is happening that he or she is not aware, that is playing a major role in uh, their health status. And no, it's not as simple as calories in, calories out. Now, when we want to talk about weight loss and weight gain, to some extent, but quality of food and vitamins, minerals, current health status, they do play a big role on how effective a calorie deficit actually is. Sometimes a calorie deficit is not the answer at the beginning, even if someone wants to lose weight, because there are other more important things to reconsider, like hormonal imbalances, deficiencies that may require you to eat a bit more than what you would want to, at least for the first part, so that your body is comfortable enough to work better.
I see. طيب هلا what's the average of losing and gaining? Because I read once that if you lose exponentially or gain exponentially within a short period of time, it's not healthy. So what's the healthy average?
Okay, it depends from one person to another. It depends on your current, again, physical state, your mental and your health state. How skinny are you? How big are you? How do you have extra weight? Are you obese? So it comes down to your actual body at the moment when you decide to start a plan, but a healthy range for healthy individuals that are just looking to lose weight or gain weight just a little bit. Like it's not a major thing. Suppose we take you for an example. You are considered a healthy person. Visually, I can see that you fall within the fit, healthy criteria. You're not thin at all, and you're not overweight at all. So, desired weight loss or weight gain, depending on your goal, we like to say half a kilo a week, totaling 2 kilos in a month, whether it's weight loss or weight gain. Suppose you are too skinny, okay? And weight loss is mandatory for health reasons, and you would actually want to gain some weight. And when we say weight, we always mean, at least me as a sports dietitian, we always mean muscle. But if the weight gain journey is too high in a small amount of time, it's impossible to gain this much amount of muscle mass in such a limited time. So you would expect fat gain. So it really depends on the person if they care or not. Take me for an example. I don't mind gaining weight and gaining some fat because having abs is not really a priority in my life. So I would jump up to 4 kilos a month. Some people would jump up to 5, but they should know that there are consequences, and to some they are consequences. I see it more as a, okay, I'll drop them later because some weight gain to me is not a problem. And the opposite is true for weight loss. So suppose you take an obese person that is relatively obese. They are not overweight, they don't have some extra weight, they are obese. Some people can jump up to 10 kilos a month depending on their current, again, status. So it really depends, and there is no one right answer.
I see. طيب, let's get into هلا شوي into the nutrients themselves. Carbs and fats. A lot of the people you of course know, they think that fats are bad. So are they? Eating
Fat.
fats.
The famous question or the famous sentence is, "Fat makes you fat," but fat does not make
Yes.
you fat. Excess calories given daily, depending on the macronutrient distribution of carbs, protein, and fat, will decide whether you gain fat or not. Hormonal imbalances can help you gain weight faster depending on your hormones and how stressed you actually are, because we release different types of hormones when we're happy, sad, angry, sick, whatever. So, what happens really is we have to understand that sometimes it's not possible to get where we want to be if we are not eating the right way. So when it comes to fat, fat does not make you fat. If it did, how can you explain to me that people who go on keto are losing weight?
People who
They
go
live
on
on
keto
fat.
are losing weight.
Keto are people who eat at least 80% of their or 70% of their intake daily from fats. They have some amount of protein and they have minimal to no carbs. They are living, literally living on butter, cheeses, avocados, nuts, and oils. It's just protein and fats. And yet you see people losing huge amounts of weight. Why? Because fat does not make you fat.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still
I
gain weight
see.
from fat if you are eating more than what you should. Again, it goes back to how much does your body burn? How much are you actually having? Even people on keto who are eating fat, if they need to eat 1,500 calories per day and they eat 2,500, whether they like it or not, because people say carbs make you fat and you should stop eating
Mm-hmm.
rice and bread, even if they only have fat and they are exceeding their daily needs, they would eventually gain fat as well because there are extra calories coming in and the body cannot excrete them all. The
I
body
see.
has to store the extra energy that people are having. So this is how people gain weight, not from fat, but from extra calories.
طيب, you mentioned هلا the keto diet and that some people stay on it and it's a very high fat protein diet, which means automatically carbs are going to be less. Now, I understand that you can lose weight, but is that healthy on the long term, neglecting carbs in your body?
No, because one, we know that our main source of energy to our body is actually carbs. Some people
Mm-hmm.
like to say otherwise and say that we were not born to eat carbs and we should be changing our body into using a different source of energy. We have three sources of energy. We have carbs and protein and fat. And at the end of the day, we are burning the three at every second while we are alive. Right now, we are burning from the three, but in different percentages. The more nourished you are, the less you would be burning or using protein, the less the calories, the less the carbs. You would be losing fat slash protein, and protein would eventually come from muscle, and the list goes on. So the thing is that people who are eating or going on fat or keto diets, they usually eat uh, little to no amount of carbs, and this would put them
True.
in a lot of vitamin or mineral deficiencies because there are things that are only found in carb sources. What do? You would have to supplement and be doing constant checkups. And a lot of people do eventually have an imbalanced or irregular lipid profile from the amount of fat they are having because most people who go on keto, they don't really understand what keto is by definition, so they think they can eat anything. They would go even for fried food just because they are on keto, which is again bad. So long term, you would probably find yourself feeling very tired, low on energy, um, having little to no muscle mass because carbs is a huge contributor to muscle gain and performance at the gym or any kind of sport.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they would fall short on vitamins, minerals. And last but not least, I believe that if I were to stop carbs, I would lose 60 to 70% of my happiness in life.
Beautiful. Well, okay. Man, let's get into the flexible dieting. Is it a tool that we can use for people who want to lose weight? I mean, considering that they love eating, and of course they gained weight and they got to an obese point because of bad food, let's say, and junk food. So, can we use flexible dieting to such people from your experience? Have you ever used it?
Flexible diet is always my tool.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, some people you cannot give them the freedom of choice as much as you think you should because again they are not they cannot commit really well and they cannot discipline themselves very much because they tend to be very inconsistent. These kind of people should have more limits than others. However, flexible diet in my opinion should always be the case. Exceptions apply for people who have medical conditions that require them to be stricter than usual. People who have
Mm-hmm.
hypertension, diabetes, heart problems, uh, they should be limiting some foods, and this to some extent makes it not very flexible. However, I think that long term, if you want to maintain your results, flexible eating is always the way. People who restrict themselves very much would get faster results than anyone else. However, how much can you really be sure of that they are actually going to keep or maintain the results? most people eventually lose the results. People who go on keto, low carb, and they restrict themselves, they would lose weight faster than usual. But the second they stop doing the plan that they are following, they gain weight or they lose the results. So that can only mean that the plan was a fail, because if you cannot maintain the results, that means the plan was wrong from the beginning.
I see. You mentioned hypertension, and I remembered salt. Now, on the
Yes.
internet recently, you're going to see some people who are talking about how good salt is, and it doesn't play a role in hypertension as much. What's your intake about this, about salt and health?
The problem is with social media is that people to some extent tend to believe everything they see because they see so many things, and if they see
True,
someone who is fit and looks smart, they would actually think that the person knows what they're talking about, and most people do
true.
not. We cannot take looks as as credibility. So whether people like it or not, and whether people believe it or not, salt has a huge play on hypertension, and of course extra weight gain, again, and I repeat, lack of sleep, stress, hormones do eventually lead to hypertension. It's not only salt alone. Find
Mhm.
someone who exercises, sleeps well, eats amazing food, and is eating a higher amount of salt than usual. We would not say that this person is going to have hypertension simply because they are having
Mhm.
salt. So everything or diseases in specific are multifactorial. So they are triggered by several things in order to happen. Uh, most people who train, if you look closely and you ask them, a lot of people, or at least half of the people I know, they take a spoon of salt before the workout even, and they go and train.
True. I do that sometime.
Perfect, and I do that sometimes. So is salt really a problem? If you do not give it context, the answer is no. So everything in life needs constant. Sugar is bad. Okay, but what is the context? If you say sugar is bad,
Mm.
you're wrong. Tell me, having sugar every day, 3 to 4 bars a day, and having juices every day is bad. I would say, okay, you're right. Having salt in every single meal and having canned and processed foods that are very high in preservative and salt daily is not recommended, and this is bad. Yes, but can you simply say sugar and salt are bad? The answer is no, because there is no context to give it a claim. So yes, whether people like it or not, having huge amounts of salt intake can definitely increase the likelihood of someone having hypertension long term, not short term.
Huge amount. What are the average that we should eat, let's say?
People tend to have people tend to exceed 10 grams of salt per day. Some people tend to
Mhm.
have huge amounts. Like if you're having canned foods daily, and you're having pickles, and you're having tuna cans, and you're having uh, anything that is found in cans, and you tend to salt your food a lot, uh, you cannot help yourself but consume huge amounts of sodium per day. A regular or a reasonable amount would be on average of 2 to 3 milligrams of sodium per
Oh,
day would be ideal. And if we're talking about salt in specific, as in the white salt, we could go to an average of 3 to 4. And some people tend to eat a lot. Like the
mhm.
dietary the guidelines that people recommend, or professionals recommend, is to limit sodium to less than 2.3 to 2.5 milligrams, which is equal to a total per day. If we're speaking of the healthiest and the safest way to go, is somehow a tablespoon. Now, sorry, I mean a teaspoon. Now, I think this is a bit, um it falls out of context for one reason. We are different people and we have different needs. You cannot say that a person who exercises and eats a lot and trains a lot and sweats a lot, that they need the
Mhm.
same requirement of people who do nothing. So I would say that a regular or a limit for people who do nothing, for example, a teaspoon per day is fine. Us, for example, we can definitely go higher. And the people who sweat and drink a lot of water definitely have and should have a higher intake than the regular population.
Thank you, Muhammad. What's the role for water, speaking of water, in gaining, losing weight, and overall health?
It's everything. Have you ever seen someone not able to fast without water for more than a week or two? And yet you
Sure
see
not.
people going on hunger strikes for 90, 100, 150 days. Uh,
True.
this is only to understand the importance of water. You cannot go a month without water. It's impossible. You could easily do it uh, uh, without food. The thing is that water, our body is at least 50 to 60% water. So you are half of your weight or half of you comes from water.
Mhm.
Water is responsible for transporting minerals, vitamins, and nutrients all in all to your organs and keep it alive. It's responsible for reproducing and producing all of the cells that you need to survive, that require proper uh, care, whether again we are talking about food or just supplying oxygen to the organs. And blood itself is what? It's liquid. So we have to understand that if we fall short on water, we can get hungrier at some points more than other people.
Mhm.
If we're falling short on water, sometimes we can even feel hectic and tired, even if you are eating enough. And
Mhm.
since our requirements daily are of carbs, protein, fat, calories, water also comes at play in a sense of there is a certain amount of water that you should be taking per day. So if you are not, this gap eventually would be filled with something else. And most people usually tend to eat more when they drink less water. So this is why people
Mm.
say water is helping me lose weight. Well, it is making me lose weight. Water is not going to make you lose weight, but if you want to think of it like deeper, we have to agree to some extent that this is true, because if you are drinking water, this means your body is more effective and functioning better than the usual person who does not. And this would eventually lead to better results long term. And when it comes to weight gain, when we are trying to gain weight, we are trying to gain muscles as well. And we know that water is stored in our muscles. And for us to get strong and bigger muscles visually, even, we need a higher amount of water. So people who are trying to gain weight and are ignoring water, they are doing a big mistake. One, because their muscles won't be fueled properly or hydrated enough, and two, that their
Mhm.
performance is going to be affected. So water is far more important than people think. This is why on my page I'm always fighting with people and making fun to some extent. Call it bullying. I bully people who say I don't like drinking water, so I don't drink water. The first thing I ask them is, how old are you? Like, really, you are an adult, you have a brain, and you can function and you can speak to me and understand. How are you saying that you don't drink water because you don't like water? A baby would know that that water is essential, and it's not a matter of liking it or not. You like it, perfect. You don't, you still have to drink it anyways. So it's not a matter of really liking water or not. At least that's what I think.
I see. Something crossed my mind now, which is the microbiota. Is it true that, for example, if you eat a 2,000 calories per day, the microbiota will take something out of that? Like, do we need to consider our microbiota in the overall plan as well?
We need to make sure that our microbiota is healthy. For those who don't know,
Mhm.
it's the balance between good bacteria and bad bacteria in our stomach or intestines, which is responsible for our immune system and how comfortable we are when eating and digesting food. So it's very important to understand that eating certain amounts of foods empower the good bacteria in our bodies, and
Mhm.
eating different amounts of foods would make things worse. Meaning, uh, a diet plan or a lifestyle, let's say, let's not call it a diet plan because people think it's temporary. A lifestyle that includes a lot of whole foods instead of processed foods, that is high in fibers, vitamins,
Mhm.
minerals, that have a lot of fibers, which are considered food for the bacteria, increase the likelihood of us having a healthier microbiota. And this means we have a healthier immune system or a stronger immune system. The opposite is true for people who are eating processed food, lots of animal based foods, and eating things that are not really natural, healthy, or whatever people want to call it, and this would decrease the likelihood of having a healthier microbiota, and this would then impact how your body works. So when it comes to digestion, your digestion is a key and crucial important factor when trying to lose weight or gain weight. So if people have problems with constipation or diarrhea or bloating or whatever you want to say, something is going to be affected in how people can continue their journey or how well their body can actually absorb nutrients and vitamins. And this would definitely affect your journey, whatever it is. So, by the fact that the bacteria uses calories, it does because it's a mechanism that is happening to some extent, but we shouldn't give it that much importance to when it comes to calories.
Okay, I see. Speaking of animal-based food, I don't know if this guy who's called Paul Saladino, he's a big advocate of animal-based food. And he doesn't usually specify the importance of fiber on the microbiota. Comparably, he suggests eating the ligaments and fat of the animal-based food, which is meat. So what's your idea about that?
Only animal-based foods?
Yes.
I
don't know if
don't.
it works or not.
You see, we need not only to think of calories and protein and think of things that are going to keep us full and take us back to our ancestry days. We need to also
Yes.
understand that our bodies and our lives have been changing a lot lately, and having and introducing plant-based food to your health is going to do you more of good than bad. Like for people who tend to have only animal-based products and people who can have a mix or a balance, if you think of it, even the Mediterranean diet is considered one of the best worldwide. When you ask or
True.
when you check what is the best diet worldwide, they would say Mediterranean diets. And what is it composed of? Legumes and beans and lentils and plant-based food, because this is how important and essential they are for overall health. So if you ask me what I would choose or what I would ask people to go for, it's definitely a mix of both. And depending on the health condition of a person, sometimes animal products would be limited to some extent.
I see. Thank you very much.
I'm not really with people going full vegan or vegetarian, definitely. But I'm also not people who are going full carnivore either.
I see. I read once that sometimes eating more can make you lose weight. So how true is that statement?
Short
Or
term
is it true
true,
in any sense?
short term true, long term not. Because again, it goes back to the
Okay.
same principle. If I'm eating more, I have to eventually gain weight. But maybe if I'm eating more right now, I'm moving more. If I'm moving more, I'm training more. If I'm moving more, I'm promoting muscle gain. If I'm moving more, if I'm eating more, I'm probably making better health results because I'm nourishing my body enough. And at some point, I eventually stay in a deficit again. But to be eating bigger amounts than what your body requires and losing weight is not really the case. Or else, most people would be still losing weight, and yet you only see that the level of obesity is going up by the day. So, long term, it helps in the sense of moving more, having more energy, and overall uh, wasting more energy or using more energy. But no, if you are eating more, eventually you would be gaining weight.
I see. Hamad, what's your idea about the intermittent fasting? Like, is it really this magical solution for our health?
I
Or
would say
does
that
it have a role, but not that much?
intermittent fasting is, come on, just say that you don't have time to have breakfast and you want to stop eating at 8. Like, what is really intermittent fasting? Limiting or restricting time for you to eat, so this is suddenly healthy. And you're asleep half of the time, or at least most of the time. So if you stop eating at 8 and you eventually sleep by 10 or 11, you're asleep at least 8 or 9 hours of it. Then you wake up at 8 or 9 and you just wait 2 hours and you eat. And this is suddenly a magical solution. Latest studies have proven that if you take two people and one of them is doing a calorie deficit and one of them is doing time restrictive eating, both eventually lead to a calorie deficit and health results are the same. There is no superior or significant difference when it comes to health results when comparing a calorie deficit and a restrictive time eating, because they would lead to the same outcome. So I would say that intermittent fasting works with a lot of people based on their lifestyle. However, they should not be going up and saying that it has changed their lives and they got better because they are fasting. Ramadan is coming soon, and Ramadan is one of the best things that people really can do for people who do not fast or actually fast on all levels, on a mental level, on a physical level. It helps you see how much you are capable of doing when you are fasting. So it's a beautiful and challenging experience, but I would not say that it has superior outcomes or benefits from just a flexible diet if the goal is weight loss.
I see. This is in terms of weight loss. Does it play a role in autophagy?
That's the thing. I did a video a month ago. I was talking about autophagy. The interesting part is that a calorie deficit would push you for autophagy as well. So even when being in a deficit, autophagy would happen, which is interesting. I didn't know that until I did the research. And last but not least, did you know that to build muscle, your body shuts down or inhibits autophagy?
No, I don't know.
So if autophagy is that important, why is your body inhibiting it to build muscle? If I'm not saying it's not important, but if it was a necessity for you to survive better, shouldn't we strive to keep it active all the times? In the common sense that people think, the answer would be yes. But exercise itself, I could send you the link later on if you want to watch it. It's on intermittent fasting and how autophagy is not as essential as or important as we think, because if it was, your body would not be inhibiting it to build muscle. So it has a negative effect on building muscle. So the body wants to shut it down because it doesn't really help the goal when trying to build muscle again.
I see. That's interesting. Something also crossed my mind. I saw some pictures of people who are, let's say, in the early 90s, how fit they look, even though they don't train as hard as we do right now. And from the early 90s to now, the obesity rates have increased. Do you think it's only a matter of eating more, or is there anything else at play?
We are more stressed than our ancestors were. We move less than our ancestors did. They used to walk, use the horse, go everywhere. Technology has facilitated life for us, so it's easier to gain weight. The quality of food is, allow me to say, it's shit. You have no idea what people are doing or adding to food when they are selling you food on the streets or outside. Before, all you had to do was get the crops, buy food, buy meats, and that's it. You do not have candies and gummies and chocolates and foods that lasted years in cans, and the list goes on. So it's a matter of our bodies have changed. We are getting weaker by the day, and as the years go by, we are more prone to diseases and problems because of how the society is going in terms of production, food system, and last but not least, the lifestyle of the human being has changed drastically. You wouldn't find people or your grandparents sitting like us right now on a laptop having conversations for an hour or two. They would probably be moving every second of the day. Like before, when they did not have houses, they would be constantly moving from one land to another. So movement was non-stop. And now You will see people not moving for 10 hours straight because they have a desk job, and once they go home,
True.
they are too tired to exercise because they are tired, but technically they did nothing because you were just sitting. So you shouldn't be physically tired, but they are mentally
Mm-hmm.
drained because of the work. So this is where I say that mental health comes to play, because you will find people who have full-time jobs, 10 hours a day, that could not move a finger after work, and yet you would find people who do the impossible to do what? Go to the gym the second they finish the work.
True. Very true. Man, what's your intake on seed oils and vegetable oils? Because also on the internet, there's like a very two spectrums. Some people agree, some people don't. So can you please let me know how should we react to
Vegetable
that?
oils are considered or have been considered bad for years now, or months, or not months, years.
Mm-hmm.
Vegetable oils are not as bad as we think. This is one of the debate I've been having with people on social media for a while. I say that vegetable oils are better than we think, and they are saying no, and this is stupid coming from a dietitian who's considered smart and intellectual. But latest studies, when comparing plant-based oils, definitely we do not speak
Mm-hmm.
of palm oil or hydrogenated vegetable oil. We're just speaking of regular seed oils or plant oils. When compared to butter, ghee, and saturated fat, because we know that plant oils are relatively unsaturated. For those who are watching and they understand Arabic more, دهون
Mm-hmm.
المشبعة are considered saturated
Mm-hmm.
fat, and دهون المش مشبعة are the unsaturated fat. So latest studies,
Mm-hmm.
when comparing saturated and unsaturated, have seen drastic improvement in health and lipid profile when comparing plant oils versus saturated. So it all comes down to the quantity, because the dose is always the poison. It's never the food itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the dose, or how much or how frequent you're having of it. I do not recommend having any type of oil in excess, except for olive oil, and even olive oil, do not have it in excess. But what I'm trying to say, the healthiest version or option would be olive oil at the end of the day. However, when it comes to comparing these two, so far studies and science has proven that vegetable oils are better than what people think. And the problem is that people are lack so much knowledge that the second I mentioned that that plant-based oils are not bad, the answer was, so you're saying we can fry foods with vegetable oil? No one's talking
Mm-hmm.
about frying food. We're just talking about using these oils for cooking. Call it regular cooking,
Mm-hmm.
not frying. So, nope, not bad as we once thought. Actually, better than what people think. But it's gonna take some
Man,
time
like, how
for
do you
people to
think can
actually.
people differentiate? Because, like, on the internet, as you said, there's so many information, so many spectrums with, against, about any topic. So, how do we know? How do we
You
filter?
you you can't unless you do your best to do your part, which is educate yourself. Most people do
Mm-hmm.
not have the patience or the time to educate themselves. So, okay, this guy looks nice, he looks fit, he has a lot of followers, he definitely knows what he's talking about. The problem is that
Mm-hmm.
now credibility is linked to looking good and having followers, or knowing
Mm-hmm.
how to speak. You can get someone who has zero educational background but can speak better than you and I, because of the way they can articulate and elaborate words. So this lately can sound very credible to people who are not very knowledgeable or educated in the matter. So how to filter is really see if the person is speaking from a scientific standpoint or just giving their opinion. Also, getting feedback or asking around, or the least that every person can do if they have a phone and they are watching, is
Mm-hmm.
just do your research. Something is gonna come up, and it's gonna help you understand if this person is speaking correctly or not. But is there a certain way to filter? Not really. People are growing by the day, and the number of influencers and people who are sharing their knowledge is only getting higher. So filtering is actually very challenging nowadays.
Tough. I think the over information on the internet is causing like a big problem in our society nowadays.
It is.
Yeah. On a final note, Mohammed, I was researching on your page, and you were talking about PCOS and how to fix it. Can you please tell the audience what is PCOS and how to fix it?
PCOS is considered polycystic ovarian syndrome. Okay, it's lately a lot of women are being diagnosed by having PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. The problem is that you cannot really fix it.
I see.
You cannot get rid of it. You can control the symptoms. You can make sure that the symptoms do not exacerbate. You can make sure that by having a better better eating habits and a better lifestyle, you can control the symptoms and make sure it does not get worse. However, to fix it is really has a huge question mark on it if it can really go away, and most of the times it cannot. So best recommendations and always will be prioritize whole foods, move more, do your best to eat actual food, control your or take care of your mental health, because these three are huge factors when trying to get better or decreasing the symptoms or limiting symptoms from PCOS. And definitely, I haven't mentioned sleep or rest. However, it is as important as everything as I just mentioned. So the more you rest and the more comfortable you are, the higher chances are that you can find better results in whatever problem you are facing from a health perspective. If you are comfortable and you are at peace and nothing is really bothering you on a mental level, which I know is very hard nowadays, but if you can really decrease the stress or minimize stress in your life, chances are that you will heal faster. You asked me lately, a few minutes ago, about why are people getting, why is obesity going up by the day or by the years or by the months? I do believe that we are being exposed to a level of stress that before was not available. We are trying to achieve so much, demand so much, work hard to get to a certain point in life that we tend to ignore our health and we lose our way trying to get there. So stress is also a huge factor and people do not give it much importance.
Very true. Thank you. Mohammed, do you have anything that you want to share by the end of the episode with the audience? Any closing note from your side?
I would only ask people, first of all, to please drink water if you don't like drinking water, because we don't care if you don't like drinking water. Last but not least, I only ask from people to take care of themselves. And when it comes to living a good life, having a healthy mind will give you a healthy body, and having a healthy body will eventually give you a healthy mind. So please take care of yourself, regardless of how busy your life may be or how much of not a priority your health really is to you. Remember to do something, because if you want to live long and happy, you need to be healthy. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Mohammed, for your time. Thank you for being a guest on the show. I very do much appreciate your time. Wish you nothing but happiness for you and your family. And if you ever came to the UAE, let me know so we can go to Ashwahaskaria.
I'm in. Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much.
I'll hit you up.
Ciao.